recording, right? So now, again, Bobcat community practitioners, I introduce you to Dr. Becky Martinez.
Hello, hello. So good to have you here. Onar, if you can give me co-host so I can put my slides up, that would be lovely. I appreciate the hand claps already. I'm feeling a part of the community. I also invite us to do two things. One, in the chat, if you could put your favorite snack. What do you feel finding yourself snacking on these days? Just so that we know the chat works, because that's a way that we will be engaging today for this next hour and a half. So in the chat, favorite snack, and it doesn't have to be the favorite, it can be one of the favorites. And the other is I know life has us at a space, right? There's stuff where some of us are in offices, some of us are in homes, some of us may be in a car. And I invite you to be on video if you're able to. If you're eating lunch, would love to break bread with you, right? So we're eating lunch together. We're doing what we can, but I always invite folks on video because, we're going to be talking about community connection, right? Creation, what's going on, returning to campus, all the things. And so I appreciate folks and what you're eating. I will be the most authentic here to say that I do know that Latrice's favorite snack is popcorn. Second one would be probably C's candy or ice cream. Because I have known Latrice for some years and Onar for some years. So I told Onar, don't read straight from the bio. You can say other things, but he was like, I have to limit myself. That's probably the best thing. So we're here today to talk about what you need to talk about. Colleen C's candy is awesome. Peanut Crunch is my favorite. I like a good caramel for the second one. They made a salted caramel now. I don't know if it's seasonal or what's going on. And Onar and I have had a lot of conversation about this particular session and what folks need, what folks want. And what I have found across the country is a lot of people, if not everybody, is wanting space to just be and get some tools along the way. Similar to the community agreements, this is a process. And so we are in process. And so knowing, depending upon what our context is, this tool may work for you, this tool may not work for you. But we are going to be able to spend some time together engaging around returning to campus. What does that mean? Being in our identities, what does that mean? When we get triggered, what does that mean? What are ways that we can navigate? And we're going to do this all in an hour and 12 minutes, which is even more impressive. So with that, let me share screen to talk about intentions. So really it's learn ways to create space and care with self and others. As we, I believe, are straddling this pandemic right now in a workspace, right? And so what days do I go to work and what days don't I? How do I feel about this? What does living in this moment mean for me? And how am I paying attention to myself and to my colleagues and to my students, for the scholars that I work with, and plates are overflowing. And so how do I put myself as a priority? And it's not selfish, it's selfless to be able to do that, and to make the choice to be able to do that. And so talking about that, opportunity to be in community. So, there's 9 of us here. And so what are ways to be in community and that we can role model that? To be present in our head and heart space. As Onar read my bio, I entered this work and I probably life from a heart space. I am a deep feeler. Facilitators that I work with often say that I sit in my heart. So you may notice that and see that. I've got degrees, I've got cognitive ways of being, and knowledge and wisdom in my head, but also I believe wisdom in my heart. and provide concepts and tools for community and connection within this space of returning to campus and trauma informed. And I want to be very clear, and I told this to Onar from the beginning when he asked, so we're doing this series and we want our space to be trauma informed, or our lens. And I said, Onar, you know, I'm not a therapist. I don't have that formal degree to give you all the practices, whether it's the 4-step practices or 6-step practices. And I appreciate his clarifying to say the way that you approach tends to be trauma informed. And so that was so humbling. But I want you to know I'm not a licensed therapist, right? I think I do some really good work. And I think, as I am in this heart space around social justice work and organizational change, it does and serves me and my clients well to understand spaces of trauma and how we can enter work, how we can heal, how we can be liberated. And I ask for us to be in those intentions, willing to slow down. All right, so we got an hour and a half. This is a time for slowing down, to share, to listen, to breathe, right, in our collective humanity. And I think that in itself, right, slowing down, breathing, listening, are tools for ourselves to be in a more healthy space and for our community to be in a more healthy space. I get to do this for my work. Working with organizations, and I'm a little sad that we've gone back to this way of being at such a intense rate. And I've worked with a couple of organizations that have slowed down, and there's just a difference. And so offering to you, how can I do that in my own capacity and in my role? And do I spend time thinking about that? What can I push back on? Where are my boundaries? And I know that you are within a structure that pays your paycheck. Okay, so for me, there's tension and dissonance in that. And there's also, like, we can find ways to be liberated in our organizations. So first tool, right? Slowing down, sharing, listening, breathing. And with that, we're going to do some slowing down and taking some deep breaths. In this image of a sunrise, I get up about 6:15 and I go for now a little bit of a run. And so I get to see the sunrise most every day. Today was cloudy. This isn't my picture of a sunrise because that would be awesome. But I just want you to, take a couple of deep breaths and plant yourself in your chair, right? As comfortable as you can get, right? And move your body around if you need to. I love when people do this and I get to see them move. So giving you permission to move on a screen, right? This virtual thing has been a thing. And I want you to do a body check, right? From, going from your head to your toes. In your deep breath, where are you holding tension? Where are you holding openness, anxiousness, joy? It's 12-ish, so hunger. And so you can close your eyes if you want to. And if not, that's okay. But take about 3 more deep breaths. come back when you're ready. Anybody been experiencing like sore back, hip issues the last like 19 months, right? You can put your hand up, you can use the reaction button. I know that I've had to pay different attention to my body these last 19 months as I'm sitting around eating popcorn, watching Netflix. And so, you know, I offer you the tool of breathing, and not the intentional breath that we do, or else we'd be passed out, right? But the like, let me slow down. Let me pay attention to my body. Let me see what's in, like, what's consuming my head and how to quiet that, at least for a few minutes. Especially as we have some kind of feelings about shifting our workspaces or having different workspaces. What does that mean? We're in the middle of the pandemic still. A lot of people have been naming, and it's been interesting that we've been in this for 2 years. They kept on, like, people that I keep on talking to are like 2 years, 2 years, 2 years. And I was like, you know, it's not 2 years. And not to diminish that it feels like it's been 20 years. And the space where people are at of how they feel, right? It's how long we've been in this. And so, you know, just get clear with your body. That is what this sunrise allows me to do every day. Even when I'm kind of sweaty and I don't want to do that last half mile. So I want you to put into chat, right? Today I am feeling, right? And so in this moment, today I am feeling, and it can be multiple feels. So in this moment right now, today, I am feeling, let's put some stuff in chat and see where folks are at. Overwhelmed, I hear you, Colleen. Only Tuesday, already exhausted, tired, achy and tired, exhausted, stressed, anxious, a little anxious. Right, there is a theme. And so I want us to pay attention to the context of where you're at, right? Where others are at. Cindy, I see the anxious. I think that that's anxious times 3 or times 4. Sleep deprived. Yeah. I know that we are in the midst of, you know, the early stages of the academic year. And the work that we do is so critical, and things are always shifting, and we're in a pandemic from a health perspective, we're in a pandemic from a race perspective, we're in a pandemic from a class perspective. And so there's all of these different layers that have us showing up, right? Anxious, tired, achy. And I often think then, so what does that mean for the work that we do and how we interact with each other and how we're building community? And I love this visual around how are you feeling and the images, because some folks are really visual. And so even with the words you have here or the words that you don't have here in regards to a feeling space, I just want you to visualize, and so what does my feeling look like? And you can use those images, right? Or you can use another image, but just in your head as you think about, and so what does my feeling, like what's the vision for that? And then if anybody wants to put like, go off of mute or, put the image that represents anxious or sleep deprived or tired. For me, I feel overwhelmed. And so I feel like because this week is just a really great and long week of training. And so I feel like I'm trying to climb that mountain. I'm just like, I'm trying to get to that mountain and I'm trying to get to that mountain and I'm slipping and I'm not seeming to get to the mountain. And it's beautiful and glorious. And I am just like exhausted trying and overwhelmed trying to get up that. So that is my visual. As I think about that, my tattoo artist always says, stop putting words in your tattoos, do visuals. So I'm working more on what that means. Stephanie, is that a mushroom? Oh, is that the hopeful? What is your mushroom?
That's a hopeful mushroom.
I love it. Thank you. It's a hopeful mushroom, Stephanie. Like, I think that we can all think about that for the week, right? Like, let's carry some hopeful mushroom energy with us throughout this week.
A little bit of optimism.
A little bit, right? And what I appreciate about that, Stephanie, is we can feel both anxious and optimistic.
Definitely. Yeah. Sometimes those two don't always go hand in hand for me, but right now they do. So I'm trying to acknowledge both of them.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. And what's for me, what is important, and I have this further along, but I'm just going to say it now, is how we can hold like our multiple truths. So we have been socialized and have been in a space of like good or bad, right or wrong, this or that. And when it comes to feelings and social justice work, I'll put that in there, or DE&I work, is like we can hold multiple truths about that. And for me, that goes beyond that either or thinking or either or feeling, and create space so that we can even hold, as you said, they don't always go hand in hand. For me, I name that as tension or dissonance. And so we can hold, anxious and hopeful at that same time. And even the tension or the dissonance may be part of that, right? So holding both on allows us to hold tension and have that be okay, rather than having like the energy of fighting that. Like, oh no, it shouldn't be. It should be this. Tension and dissonance is, we have been socialized also not to be in those spaces. And that is how worlds work, right? That is how our world works. So thank you, Stephanie, for sharing your word and your image so that we can engage in that, that concept, right, of holding the both and. So as we return to campus, like sometimes people are excited about it, and some people are like, I want to wear my sweatpants and be home and, eat some ice cream as I'm on this hour and a half thing. And so, really thinking about that. Anybody else want to give or how about this, any space in an unmuted space that people want to give context to their feeling? I'm going to get you into some small groups, probably 2, to talk about some other things, including feelings, but wanted to allow space.
Yeah, I think I'm, in terms of our mini conversation, Becky, getting us to today, I shared with you in terms of, since with the pandemic and everything else that's been going on, post George Floyd, right, that the work has been ongoing, right? It's been exhausting, it's been tiring, but there's definitely committed folks that are staying on. And so, and having some of our virtual dialogues in the past, we talked about like this transformative reset. Like, how do we have this reset button that's also transformative around that collective healing, right? Because we can't go back to normal, because normal never worked. And so for us, again, to be hopeful, to be creative and and magical, right, for that transformative reset. And for me, I feel that, and I'll own it, right, like we are going back to that normal, but it's just packaged a different way, right? And at times it brings me back, right, to why I resist that we have to go back to normal, right? We have to learn new things about processes around the universities or this new policy, et cetera, right? Like we're just all going back, like we're not still in a pandemic, because that's what I always say. We're, y'all, we're still in a pandemic, right? And so what for me is like, again, like what Stephanie shared, like hopeful, right? What does transformative reset look like, and how is that process? Who's at the table? Who do we need to have at the table, right? Make it bigger and make it more, again, transformational for folks in our communities.
Yeah. Yes to all of that, right? So I'm seeing a lot of organizations, most of them going back to normal, whatever normal was, and that it didn't work for folks, depending upon their identities or lived experiences or positions in the institution or the organization. And in my head, when I'm working with folks, I'm like, okay, so like, what did we learn? And so, what have we learned in the last 18 months? And what are we willing to continue to shift or remain the same or reimagine as you think about that? And there is, Latrice, I'll get to you. I just saw within the last few days, there's a body of water, I think it was a lake. And so in the, I don't know, probably in the first 8 months, 9 months, the lake was returning to its ecosystem. And was shifting its water and like it, what was growing in it. And then we started opening and people started going back to this body of water. And now there's like a really high rate of algae in it, and they had to close it. And so I'm like, nature was recalibrating itself. And then we went back and nature has said, well, this is what's happening now. And we can learn those same lessons from nature, right? Of, what was working that was helping us recalibrate ourselves. And what are we going back to that is growing algae, right? Which is basically then meaning that we need to change things, right? Or this isn't working, or the algae is coming back and it's at high levels now. And so what behavior caused that? And so many lessons to learn from nature. And this is like one of them. And how do we do that within our locus of control, whether it is our small office space or our area space or a divisional space or our unit space or our family space or our friend space, so that we continue to recalibrate and don't go back to as many maybe behaviors that are causing the algae. Yeah, so I saw Latrice and then I saw Colleen.
So when, really thinking about where we are as the campus, it feels like, and listening to what you just shared, Becky, it feels really pertinent. I've been thinking a little bit about coming back to work physically on campus, and with everyone, we've been through so much over the course of the pandemic and we're still in it, but it feels like the campus, we've chosen to open. So we've chosen this return to on-campus engagement and to the benefit of our students. They really needed to be back present in person. But I do wonder if we have chosen a cultural change, right? It feels like we're kind of the slow roll back to where we were. That some of the things that we put in place now, whether it's telecommute agreements or whatnot, I think that there is some cultural change that's coming, but it doesn't feel like that's a collective mindset that we choose to be different, because we are acknowledging that some things didn't work for folks. So I'm wondering that, we're still in this space where we're figuring it out. And I think, I'm in some conversations and hearing some conversations where folks are thinking about, where are we going, and what do we look like? How do we provide better space for our staff and for our faculty and our students, that is more responsive and more, not reactive, but certainly more inclusive. But it also feels like we are in the rush to return, without a real significant acknowledgement that we're different. And we're still trying to figure that out. But I feel like we've got some work to be done, and in the absence of the time to really do the work to figure out where we are, that we're rushing to return to what we did and who we've been. So
Yeah.
that gives me a little pause.
Yeah, I appreciate that reflection around, how we are moving so fast. And is it moving back into the same way of being? Is it not? What worked prior? What worked during? Even we're still in it. What's working in this moment? What can we learn from that? I would say maybe there's like 2 or 3 institutions that I've worked with that are have pulled the reins on the fastness, but probably because people keep on telling them to slow down. And some, they're finally like, okay, we gotta continue to have services, right, and serve our community and serve campus and serve scholars and students and faculty and staff. But like, what are our parameters and what are our boundaries? So I'm talking with more folks lately around, so like, what are your boundaries? And so what are your unit boundaries? What can you say no to? Why don't we try saying no to it? What do you have to do? What are the priorities? It's like so many conversations around boundaries lately, which is counterculture, right, to how academia usually works, as well as how the US works. So it's not just an academia context, it's like context across the US. And how the truth, and how can we do it like differently and like magically, and still take care of ourselves and be in a healing space and a liberated space, which is, how do we have to pay attention to how identity is working out on campus, right? From a race, gender, age, position, nationality, immigration, religion, right? ... All those identities, and what is working that looks different than how academia has been set up. And virtual allowed us to do a little bit of that. And so what can we even learn what could we take that we learned when we were remote, or at least most folks were remote? And let's not even get into the class system of what that looked like. Like what worked remotely that we can maybe practice in a in-person space. Yeah. Colleen, is it Colleen or Colleen?
Colleen.
Okay.
It's okay.
Okay. Come on in.
Thanks. Yeah, no, I agree with Latrice and Onar. It just seems, we're rushed back and we haven't had time to really process it, or like what we've been through. And like, I'm here today also to like how to be helpful for students. And I just feel like I'm kind of empathetic. So I just feel all their stress and kind of their anxiety and pain too, as well as like mine coming back. And like, things don't seem to be changing, just going this, the same way we were going back to normal. But like what I feared when, like, though I have a stable job and was able to be remote and was very grateful for all that, it's just now we're still kind of doing semi-remote, but also in person. So it's just all this time and there's limited boundaries. And as a junior faculty, there's not any expectation of boundaries and just to keep pushing. So it just feels like no matter what I do, it's not good enough. And so I just I go to these trainings and I like them and I try to like implement them in for the students. I just don't feel it trickling up. And I know I have like a limited perspective from the faculty perspective, but yeah, it's just been a little hard.
Anybody relate in? You either use your thumbs up, right? Your actual thumb or the reaction button, right? Your limited perspective as just a faculty member is more than just limited, right? It is, a lot of people are feeling that exact same way. What can we do? I want to be empathetic. And I'm going through my own process, right? So how do we serve others when we're also in this space of like, we're tired and we're anxious and we have limited, power and positionality. I want to be supportive, but I also am concerned about my own self. Nothing wrong with that, right? Whether it be from an energy space or a health space, right? A load space. So how much are we holding, right? In regards to what we're needing to do in regards to workload. So those are all like real lived experiences that are happening right now. So I want you to know that you're not alone in that space. And maybe we can do some talking about some of these questions. So I'm actually going to put this up here. And maybe I'm not going to, yeah. So how about some of these questions, and maybe, let's see, what time is it? It's 12:46. Why don't we, Onar, if we can get it, oh, we have some more. So can we do about 3 groups, 4 groups, 2, 3 groups, 10. Let's do about 3 people per group. That may give us a group of 4 to be in this conversation around. So I think we talked a little bit about today how I'm feeling, but if there's more, right? How have the last 19 months impacted you? Now you probably can be in that question for the whole rest of the hour. And your connection with colleagues and scholars, right? I'm changing my language because Onar keeps on using that, and I'm like, okay, this is what we're doing. It's an awesome practice. Mm-hmm. What comes up for you in this return to campus space? So what's coming up for you? And how do you create space for community and connection? And maybe I want to add, how would you want to? So maybe not just how you do, but if I had the wand, right, this magic wand, how would I create space for community and connection? So even go bound or get the boundaries out. Okay, well, I only can do this because it's Merced and these are our structures. So, get rid of those structures, at least in this conversation. So again, how am I feeling? What has come up for you? How has the last 19 months impacted you? What comes up for you as you think about the new normal, right? Or returning, or doing this hybrid space? All of that is part of it. And if you had that magic wand, how would you create space for community and connection? So you're going to be in this for about 12 minutes. We'll get you back at 1 o'clock. So somebody is going to get us into breakout rooms. I'm not going to be in a breakout room, just to let you know. And then we will bring you back in 12 minutes.
Okay. 4.
And then Onar, if you can put the timer on. If not, then we'll just let people know. We can do a broadcast.
Yep. And we could broadcast in chat.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone. You want me to be in group 1 only has 2. You want me to go to that one?
Can you though bring folks back then?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah. Do you want to be in one?
Weird. Hold on.
Okay.
I can't sign. Oh, I don't think I can.
I don't think you. But you know what? You have me as host, so I can broadcast to all and I can close rooms according to what's on my screen.
Okay.
Okay.
No, I don't think I can. Yeah, I don't think I can join.
Oh, you can't join. Got it. Okay.
Right.
Okay. Well, then
Weird. It's you
there's
and
two
me.
people.
Hold on. Hold on.
11.
Happened.
You may
Yeah,
not
'cause I think
be
the
able
host.
to.
Yeah, I don't think the host
Yeah.
can. Yeah.
Can. Yeah. That's okay.
Okay. Also not joined. Yeah. So we have 3 and 3, or
And 2.
2 and 1. Yeah. 3.
That's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. As you can tell from people's sharing.
Oh, they're just holding so much. Yeah. That's like, yeah.
Right. And so I got a message from Colleen saying, "Oh, is this only for our staff?" And I'm like, "No, this is for everyone, right?" So even our faculty, be it junior, right, aren't having these spaces.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was pleasantly surprised about that. That's different. But yeah. People are holding a lot right now. And what it reminds me of, or not reminds me of, but prompts me to remind people of, is you all got to talk about how that's impacting your life, like the anxiety and the stress, and that it's not about like getting, group venting,
Right.
like complaining, but it's about how do we support and navigate in a space of anxiety. So we've got to name it.
Right.
And how do we shift that? Right. And so like, what can we shift that we may not be able to shift organizationally, but we can begin to develop a different culture. Right. And that may be like, all right, so Onar is my buddy, right? I'm his high five partner if we want to have it in a more structured way. And I do a check-in with him every 2 weeks, or we do a check-in with each other. And if I notice he's not sticking to his boundaries, I say, hey, Onar, right, this is the things that you said that were your boundaries. And so how can I support you?
Right.
Right. But that takes time and intentionality, trust, vulnerability,
Right.
and that is also really difficult for people.
Right.
Do you want this recorded right now, by the way?
You can't record. Let's see.
When it says recording.
I think it's only, yeah, it's only recording us. But what I'll do is
Okay.
I'll top it off.
Okay. Just making sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, like that's one of the things, right? We got to be able to do with each other. And that also rolls that role models to students. Okay, so